Fighting with My Family is a heartwarming comedy based on the incredible true story of WWE superstar Paige. Born in a tight-knit wrestling family, Paige and her brother Zach are ecstatic when they get the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to try out for WWE. But when only Paige earns a spot in the competitive training program, she must leave her family and face this new, cutthroat world alone. Paige's journey pushes her to dig deep, fight for her family, and ultimately prove to the world that what makes her different is the very thing that can make her a star. For the most part, I've publicly made it known that I don't really care for the WWE. I don't care for wrestling. It doesn't make sense to me. It's fictional, and a lot of their history revolves around passing it off as real. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But once in a while, there comes along some kind of project, TV show, movie, what have you, that puts it off in a different light that makes me respect it. Fighting with My Family is one of those things. When I look at the people category that looks over the acting, characters, casting, importance, and chemistry, I want to say that it's not perfect, but it does a lot that's right. And what's done right is mostly thanks to Florence Pugh, who plays the main character in the film. She gives off a persona that is likable, that you can connect with even if you're not into wrestling. It's who she is. It's how she interacts with her family that makes her a likable human being that you can relate to. While everybody else kind of just fades around to the background, I would say it's all about her. She's got the best acting ability in it, she's got the best character, she's got the best importance all around into what's happening in the film. But for the most part, it is a biographical film, it is a biopic, so technically speaking, these people in her life help move her towards her eventual future, but they alone, having individual strengths, individual skill sets, individual whatever, not really, they all kind of blend together as one giant body. I mean, her brother is the one exception, but I will get into that in a second. The people category got 13 out of 20 possible stars. That's 65%. When we're looking at the writing category, dialogue, balance of the film, depth of the story, originality, and interesting, I would say it does a pretty good job, especially for being a biopic, at focusing on one central story. The only time that it doesn't is when it switches back and forth between Paige and her brother. Her brother's storyline comes down to being jealous of where she is in her life, and it should be where he is. Instead, he's just getting into trouble. I get it from a true story standpoint. It's part of her life. It's something that we need to learn. But from a cinematic standpoint, you kind of want to see her grow, because it is an underdog story where she's doing this and this and this, and so much focus on her brother takes away from what's going on in her life. I mean, maybe that's just an opinion from my standpoint, but I think from a cinematic thing, I'm starting to lose focus on who the main character is. But yeah, from a true story standpoint, it's actually pretty good, because from the very beginning, these characters know what they're trying to do, at least Paige. She's trying to be a superstar. And how do you do that? You go through the obstacles of WWE training, and that's exactly what happens. Most true stories and biographical tales have a deep, meaningful story to tell, and for the most part, we do get that here as well. The main thing I wanted to point out was, yes, this is a WWE movie, so I wasn't that interested in seeing it. That being said, I think they did a pretty good job at making it an all-around interesting movie. The writing category gets 7 out of 10 possible stars. When we're looking at behind the scenes, we're looking at the visuals, the cinematography, the editing, advertisement, and the music and sound. Everything here was typical, standard, what you expect, nothing that actually stands out, except for one thing, the advertisement. First, look at the poster. What do you see? You see Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Watch the trailers, you'll see the same thing. But I want to make it very clear that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is barely in the movie. He's there, don't get me wrong. He has a scene somewhere in the beginning of the movie where he has a good motivational speech that gets people's blood pumping and everything. But as a whole, it doesn't add that much to the plot, and it's basically there as a gimmick. This is a marketing ploy that can be seen as false advertising. Not by much, though. The story is exactly as you would expect it to be. They clearly added The Rock in there to bring more people in to watch. That's the only thing I have to say about that. For everything else, though, average, 5 out of 10 possible stars. The narrative structure, introduction, inciting incident, obstacles, climax, and falling action. For a biographical film, it does a very, very good job staying on a nice, even path where it introduces you to everybody, where they decide what they're going to do for the rest of the movie, and they do it, where they have obstacles because they have an end goal in mind, and there's plenty of things that stop them from getting there. Perfect. The climax, there is a culmination of things before it. There's even an epiphany moment, which you see with a lot of great climaxes, and there's a pretty good following action. Full points, 10 out of 10. The entertainment category goes through how rewatchable it is, how much of a good time you have while watching it, impulse to buy or own it, impulse to talk about or recommend, and if it's engaging or riveting. When it comes down to rewatchability, I personally don't care that much to watch it again. I'm not against watching it again, so for the most part, that got half points. I think for the most part, anybody that's watching is a fan of WWE, and that's a really good time for them. That's their entertainment. They don't watch a lot of movies. They don't watch a lot of TV from my experience. They watch a lot of wrestling. And this is the best of both worlds. It's movies, it's the wrestling, it's WWE in a good light. I think for the most part, anybody that watches this can respect it for what it is and have a good time while watching. This gets full points. Your impulse to buy it or own it, not me personally. That's why I gave that 0. Your impulse to talk about or recommend, I don't think I'll be telling anybody about it. I don't think it's discussion worthy, so that got 0. Is it engaging or riveting? Does it feel like you're going to miss something if you pause or look away? Only to a certain regards in certain scenes. A lot of it, though, I would say is some repetitive things and mostly just character-specific things that don't add to the direction of the plot so much. So it doesn't always feel like you can't pause it, or you can't look away, or you can't use the bathroom. It's only in certain regards. So that got half points, 1 out of 2. Entertainment category got 4 out of 10 possible stars. Don't forget, with the entertainment category, I'm really only looking for 5 out of 10. That's perfectly entertaining for me. I'm not looking to have my socks blown off or have my jaw on the floor. If that happens, great. I know it's not normal for most movies. I'm just looking for half score, 5 out of 10. So 4 out of 10, not that bad actually. The specialty category, what do you expect to see out of Fighting With My Family? Well, if you are a fan of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, then you're probably going to expect to see him, especially because of the poster, because of the trailer, and like I said, he's in it. But it's not his movie. He's barely there in the first place. Blink and you'll miss him. 0 out of 10. As a WWE movie, how does it fare? I can really respect what it's doing because, for the most part, it's not trying to pass itself off as real. It says many times, follow the script, it's fictional, and everything. As long as it does that, you get a better idea of what everyone's going through. Even though it is fictional, even though it is scripted, they still have to go through a grueling process, have to prove their strengths as a person anyways. That's why I say I can respect this as a WWE movie, so this gets 10 out of 10. As a biographical film about this WWE wrestler named Paige, do I learn anything about her? Do I understand why it was made in the first place? I do and I don't. I understand that she's an underdog of sorts, but I can't sit back and say she's the only underdog in WWE history. There's got to be others. And why is it her specifically? Is it because she's a woman? No, there's plenty of female wrestlers. So what is it? I don't think that answer was ever fully answered for me. So I don't fully understand why she was chosen. When I'm watching it, I don't feel like I understood that portion. I'm going to give half points, 5 out of 10. Is it halfway decent? Did they make the movie that they intended to make from the get-go? Yeah. The specialty category gets 25 out of 40 possible stars. If we add up all those points, we get 64 out of 100 possible stars, 64%, which is on the lower end of the spectrum, but it is a sports movie, it is a biographical film, and those two things don't always impress me all that much. I did think it was done very well, but not in every regard. So that's what I got. Guys, tell me what you thought of Fighting With My Family in the comments down below. And as for YouTube, you know you can subscribe to me. Hit that like button and hit the bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. And until then, guys, peace out!